Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sensual Synergy. Again, this is Nickesha coming here live from the Women's Earth at 2201 Arbor Street in the historic Third Ward, Houston, Texas, 77004. All right, and we have our sister Janae over here, the owner and operator of the Women's Earth. And again, want to thank her so much for allowing us to be in her beautiful place. And if you have a business, she does have business membership. It's a great value, okay? Make sure you check it out. Want to thank everyone for being here tonight. And again, the subject we are talking about is dating, all right? So we've talked about this concept of the dating game and some of the things that line up with the dating game and authenticity, being fearful of being vulnerable. We talked about fear of rejection, and we talked about all these things being barriers in relating as it relates to allowing people to really see who we are. And so the next question I have for the audience is, how do you feel, either in your own experience or you can use someone else's experience as a point of reference? How have you seen the how have you seen inauthenticity or the lack of telling your truth or not being vulnerable affect relationships? Or have you seen it? You think it's working out?
I think it affects trust.
You think it affects trust?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, um, dating. I think there is an aspect of dating. I know we've talked a lot about you know our representative coming out
Mm-hmm.
in the negative aspect of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you're kind of ashamed of your whole self.
Exactly.
But dating can also be refreshing when you're bringing out that representative, because sometimes you're getting over something and you're no longer being something that you shouldn't be being. Maybe you're used to being the victim, or getting over depression or whatever, and this is your time to kind of bloom and be something different, what you desire, so you can attract things. And so, but if you aren't being vulnerable or being truthful about your desires and what you want and things like that, then people just believe you, and and then when that truth comes out, then they don't trust you. And so a lot of people that I've seen, and it's happened with me in the past, is you stay in a non-trusting relationship, and that's very damaging,
Mm.
and
That's interesting. We
yeah.
talked about trust issues a show or two ago. Now, this is my question to you, and it just popped in my head. Has anyone ever been in a relationship where someone has anyone ever been in a relationship where someone has not done something that caused you to lose trust in them? Have you ever been in a relationship where they have not done one thing that was contrary to what you believe they should have done, or you said that they should not do? So they've never done anything
to cause you to distrust them.
Yes, and we're not talking about nothing big, cheating, slashing your tie, kicking your grandmama in her kneecap or nothing like that.
No, they always deliver. They never let me down.
Okay. Well, she's saying she's living. So you've been in a relationship, and it doesn't have to be, because we're thinking about these big, grandiose concepts of, ooh, I've lost trust in you. You said you was, I don't know, an artist, which you really is, I don't know. Accountant, nothing. But I mean, just something like what they told you, you were like, what? I thought you liked that, or you told me you did this, or you.
Yeah.
Never happened.
No.
Never.
It has happened. So that kind of brings a question.
Go ahead. What's your question?
Since desires and wants or expectations seem to change over the course of a period of time.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, who tells us what our desires are supposed to be in the first place?
I think that our desires, like you said, change. They change. They change over time. And so
There's a social element here that kind of teaches us.
Yes, it is. It's definitely a social element. It is a social element.
Is it the broken school system, the broken home that's not giving us the rites of pass or whatever we need, basically to have a better idea of what we should be looking for?
Gotcha. You wanna talk on this, sister?
Was that a rhetorical question?
No.
When you said who tells us what our desires are supposed to be?
Right. Like, for example, I'm supposed to be married, right? What if I don't want to be married?
So then why get married?
Right. So who tells us this is what you should? Because when you say you don't, you get a look or some bad comments on it. You know, like that's not like. It's like you don't want to get married. What's wrong with you? Basically, they kind of.
But that goes back to you.
Yes, sure.
If that matters to you, then again, that's another opportunity for you to grow because that's the universe coming forward saying you're still unable to accept yourself for who you are and what you really want.
Yeah.
So, my father's that way. He feels like I should definitely be married by now. He's like, we did everything right. I don't know why you're not married. You shouldn't be paying a mortgage. A man should be taking care. He's very serious because that's where he comes from. I come from a two-parent household.
Exactly.
But that's not my reality right now. And not that I don't desire those things, but I don't desire them the way that he sees in his mind.
Gotcha.
For me. And I don't feel any pressure or strain or anything. At all. So, when you asked that question, I was just thinking, well, that's innate. That's all individual. What I want for me has absolutely nothing to do with what Kalade wants for herself.
Exactly.
And if I accept that she says that, my life should be a certain way, then I have to own that. That has nothing to do with her. I can't put that on her. That's all me.
Right. So that experience might not be typical because most people grow up in that mindset that I should be doing it. Because of tradition.
Somewhere else.
Right. Because of past tradition, like family tradition or whatever. So
exactly.
And they frown on it now.
Definitely. Again, it goes back to your deepest desires do not always line up with social norms and values.
Yeah.
They do not line up with social norms and values. And so what we're seeing now in our society with the increasing number of divorce and quote unquote this and that and the breakup of relationships, whatever you want to call it, is that people's deepest desires, are not being met. They're just doing what they were told to do, what society said to do, and then eventually their representative can't, the representative like, look here, you got me on overtime. We were supposed to be doing this first 2 months. Now we 3 months in, we 4 years in, 10 years in. Oh, now see, look here, you ain't got enough W's. I'm trying to cash in, you ain't trying to cash in. You know what? I'm gonna let her out. I'm letting the dogs out, and that's what happens. So again, like when will we as a society be able to say, I don't give a fuck what you expect from me? Period.
But isn't that the problem? We're waiting for society to say as a whole what we should and shouldn't. That's the problem. That's been the problem. Because societal goals and standards change over time, period. So the problem is with the authenticity is that when you're birthed into this world, you were given a structure by your parents or whoever your parental figures or whatever your construct is in life. That creates, it's nothing but a program that you run in your brain.
Yes.
That tells you what to do and how to do it. It's really not real. All the stuff we talk about society and what society, none of that stuff is real. But we buy into it as a way to gauge and guide in our interactions with each other. And that's why authenticity looks so weird. Because, like, for example, I posted something on Facebook talking about how I haven't used deodorant in 2 weeks. Okay. I broke it down and said why I hadn't used deodorant and what was going on and all this. It's not right. My friend was like, wow, that's like a lot to be telling. To her it was like too much, but to me it was right in line with who I am and what I want to be. Because somebody's going to be like, oh really? I want to not do that. So let me get with you on how to do that. This is how we change society. because we start speaking something different, more people start grabbing onto it, but it's always really going to be that ebb and flow of what the majority says, because we are communal people, even though we're in a society that's individualized.
Exactly.
Yeah, to play devil's advocate, not to be devil's advocate. But who's to say that this brand new thought process or rebranding of our own individuality, and all of those things, it's not working. Like, who's to say that what our parents did and what our grandparents did we need to upset the apple cart and just do things differently?
Yeah, no, most definitely. Again, that's why I am focusing on our deepest desires, because someone's deepest desire may be to be in a relationship that mimics their parents.
Right.
But what I'm saying is, do you believe that shit? Is it working for you? How is it working out for
Each
you?
individual
Right.
Yes, what I'm saying. Do you believe that? Are you focusing your energy on that? Or are you focusing on the opposite of that, based off of your experiences or other people's experiences? So my thing is that more so than what I'm focusing on with this conversation is, what do you deeply desire, and make sure that it lines up to your expectations. It's different for everybody. It may be what my parents had. It may not be what my parents had. It's just us understanding that the reality of it, based off of universal law, what you desire and what you expect is going to show up. So if you want to know whether those things are lining up or not, look down, look around. And if it doesn't, then that's the key. It's not difficult. It's not difficult. If you desire this, but you don't expect it to happen, but you keep saying, oh, I want this person to do this and I want them to do that. The reality of it is that you don't need to look at them. They're just telling you, oh, shoot, he's not being or she's not being what I want him or her to be. Then that's time to say, okay, what is it? What program am I running? What program am I running? Am I running a program that lines up with this person being with me and us being in a loving relationship, or am I running a program that's opposite or opposition to that? Yes.
A good example is I had to look at my life, because I was wondering, like, I'm a good woman. I cook, I clean, I take
Go
care of
ahead.
kids, I do everything.
Go ahead.
Why can't I keep a man? Or why, not that I can keep a man, why y'all ready to leave?
Yeah.
But what I noticed within myself was that I could belittle a man in a heartbeat. I could do sheetrock, I could lay some towels, I could do the wood, I could cook. There's nothing a man can do that I can't do. That's my attitude. There's only one thing I need from a man, because I can do it myself. That's my attitude with it, right?
Yes.
So I'm like, I had to look at myself like, what am I doing? So I realized that I had to look at myself, because I could belittle him in a heartbeat. And a man, if you want a relationship to last, you have to give him his place.
Exactly.
You can't belittle him, even if he's not doing it right. I have to like. You're gonna help me with this towel job. I just need you to bring me the towel. I could do this, but
yeah.
Besides, like, would you just leave and I do it myself.
Yeah.
And I'm quick in a heartbeat to say that, like. Yeah. Just leave, But now that I want a relationship and I realize what's my problem,
yeah,
I can fix it, and I can be in a relationship and say, okay, I know this is I'm fucked up. I got issues.
Oh my God.
If you want to deal with it, this is my issue, this, and this. So if I get out of line, I just need to just say, hey, Michelle, you get out of line.
So where do you think that programming came from that you had before, where it said that you could do everything, you really don't need a man for one thing? You know what that is?
I'm the second child.
Okay.
It's my sister, and I was raised like a boy.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I don't like shopping. I could go to Home Depot and stay there all day. I know every price of sheetrock, towels, and bras, and everything. But I was the second child, had a clean, cook, everything else. My sister was brought up in paperwork. She was in paperwork. I hate paperwork. I'm a second computer.
Yeah.
But, anything for work, hands-on, that's the way I was brought up.
So you were essentially raised like a boy. So you're saying that you were put in a role as the masculine. Yeah. So it was hard for you to create a vortex or a place for a masculine in your life, because you were being that. Exactly. So you had to realize you had to step up out that role, right? In order to get that masculine that you desire. Because eventually, as women, all day long, we can hold that place of masculine, but eventually, it gets tiring after a while because our nature is that of being nurturing, being loving, sit back, being pampering. Who doesn't want that? Do you want to do sheetrock or do you want to go get you a massage and a facial or chill at the at the woman's earth? 2201 Artist. It's like, do you want to really get down there and put down towel and possibly cut your fingers, or would you rather, if that's something you don't desire to do? I understand if you have to do it, but if that's something you don't desire to do, would you really rather lay towel or go get a facial? If that's what you want to do.
Missing my money, I'm gonna lay towels or go facial.
Ain't nobody. It always comes to money. But you get what I'm saying, right? It goes back to you were raised in a certain way where you were raised in the masculine, so it's hard for you. The masculine men came in your life, oh shit, she don't need me, let me. And that's why I hate it, and I know I'm digressing, I'm going on something else, but it aligns with dating. I hated that whole independent one. Remember Beyonce and INDE and Lil Boosie and all them, Lil Poo Poo and them had songs about women being independent. She got her own house. She got her own car. I mean, it was cute, when you're in this club and you got your glass and you just like, it's cute. But then what you have to realize as men, like dealing with gender, men want to feel like they can lead. They want to feel like they can go out and they can provide and bring back. Men want to feel like they can be a guidance to you. Men want to feel like that they have wisdom for you. And if you are not allowing them to, be in those roles, then they do look at you like, oh, all she need is dick. Let's be honest. Because we have a lot of females that men will come in your life and they be like, oh, okay, you don't need me. Oh, but you don't have this. I do. So that's all I'm going to give you. Because that's all energetically you're saying that you need. You might not be coming out your mouth saying, oh, all I need from you is this. But you set up your life in a manner. Now, okay, again, if you're dating and you a free agent or you doing whatever and that's all you want, then that's all right. I'm not here to judge. But if you're looking for a partnership, if you're looking for a connection and you're looking to grow, then I don't think all you want is. Go ahead.
All right, so we understand that society is an agreement. Like this agreement that we all agree that this is how things are gonna go. When we start reaching in the self and pulling at the individual and saying what you want to happen is not real, then that agreement comes apart. Those roles start to become disheveled. Like there's chaos becomes like, well, a woman is supposed to be this. A man is supposed to be this. 40 years ago, a man was this. A woman was this. Right. Now, women have found the freedom, like, I don't have to put up with that no more. So I'm going to be this. Men will lock into those roles too. I mean, I don't have to be like this no more. So I'm going to be this. And so now no one knows exactly where they're supposed to be from that upper look down. And so those roles that were dictated almost and passed down from generation to generation, they aren't there anymore. Yeah, they are in a way, but then they're so far away that it seems like it's unrealistic to each of us.
Yeah, and when I talk about roles, I'm not talking about a woman should cook, be barefoot and pregnant to be in the house waiting, or a man should be doing this or that. I'm talking about energies, I'm talking about the concept of polarity, masculine and feminine, hot and cold, dark and light, okay? Generally speaking, the masculine energy, if you come to this earth and you're masculine, you have a penis, you possess a certain masculine energy, energetically, that dictates that you will have this outward, fiery type energy to yourself. And if you are a female and you come to this earth, then it dictates you have a very inward, nurturing type energy. It's not saying that you got to take care of some kids or you got to go out there and be busting your behind in the hot sun busting concrete, but I'm talking about energies in general. So what you had in the past is you had these concepts of roles, but they were based off of somebody help me with this.
Well, I'm
Actually,
Go ahead, help me.
Let me based on what you just said. Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me interject something from what you're saying, because I understand what you're saying about, from the top down. But looking at the history of this society here and how we used to be, let's say back in Africa, which is completely different. It's a microcosm of what we have here. There's the thing that I'm not gonna say the thing that you're missing, but the thing that I want to include is purpose. And the purpose of what we saw in society and as society changes. So the purpose was to procreate. So you had to have a woman do such, and you had to have a man do such. You build up all the children, and you teach them in your institutions on how to be these specific things. For example, how girls did not go to school. Girls only went to school till maybe third grade to learn to read and write, and then they came home and they learned how to be housewives because you have a purpose. Now the purpose was dictated by religion. God, blah 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 blah. Now as we have moved into this society where we are no longer actually in this particular culture, we're not guided by one particular God. And we have other cultures who have come in and kind of changed the dynamic. Now we don't have that quote unquote purpose. So you don't necessarily see our roles dictating a family life and a family structure like in the 40s where the women stayed at home, the men went to work. Then all of a sudden they went to war, the women went out into the job. They didn't go out there because they wanted to. They went out there because there was nobody to work the machines. What happened was they got into another way of being. The men came back in whatever condition they came back. And now we got to go back to how we were. I like making money. I like being free. I like doing things. So then you have a shifting and everything in a flow.
The economic system is just so different. Dual income earning couples are required now, especially in major metropolitan areas, as opposed to rural areas where you can still do that. I'm from a place that's like population 800. So most women do still stay at home, but if you move to New York or California or somewhere that's a major area like that, it's inconceivable to think that you're going to sit at home and raise 6 or 7 kids unless your husband is some, rich business.
And that's probably why they're out in the country because it's not as expensive to live out.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's why they're out in the country.
So, and you touched on where I was trying to go, and like I said, the thought escaped me, is that the roles, she talked about purpose, but the roles change over time. She talked about how they change over time due to purpose. But when I'm talking about male and female, I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about energy. I'm talking about the masculine energy being the one that is able to go out and exert itself physically to a certain degree that the woman cannot. She can, but it has certain physical implications to it. Okay? I'm just giving you an example. I, as a woman, can go out and bust some damn concrete, but it's going to have certain physical implications on me than a man. So I'm talking about these energies. I'm not talking about roles. And so when I'll give you an example. If I'm a woman, I'll give you an example. I'm a woman, I'm independent, throw your hands up, all I need you is for one thing. If I have that type of attitude, I got my own house, I got my own car, I got this and I got that, and I don't need a man for anything, then what happens energetically is you deal with the opposites attract. You're going to attract the energy to you that's going to be more in a feminine energy. You're going to attract a man that's more feminine. You're going to attract a man that's more, oh, you out busting your ass, I'm chilling.
He's not going to do it because he wants to.
He's not doing it because he wants to.
It's because that,
Yeah.
and it's
That's what
just
you
the
dictate.
energy.
Right.
And that shifts and changes based on how you handle yourself. And
Exactly.
that was one little thing I was going to include when she was talking about how she can do everything. Because in essence, energetically speaking, we can all do everything.
Yeah.
But what I've learned in being how you're talking about is I now look at a man as my masculine. Because sometimes when we date, we are in that mind frame, so we're looking at a man to say, okay, can you be a better man to me than I am to myself? So if I'm working and I got a $300,000, $300K job, and you are in fast food, you cannot be a better man to me than I am to myself. If I'm already buying my own stuff, taking myself out, going on trips and all this, but you're talking about, baby, when I get, you can't be a better man to me than I am to myself. And it's, just speaking of black people, that's been the dichotomy of how this society has created that chasm, that divide. Because we're able to provide for ourselves, whereas our men we're trying to, we have to pull them up in certain ways. So we're looking at them like, okay, you mean to tell me you want me to take care of me and you? So then it's a normal thought. What are you good for? I'm doing that already. But what I've started to do is I've started to look at a man as the masculine voice to me on the outside. Mm-hmm. So now he has a place. Even though I'm masculine in here, now I'm listening to you. You're giving me other introspective, perspectives. So I can respect you now because as the embodiment of a male with a penis and testosterone, you're the man, and I can hear what you're saying, and then my masculine inside of me can back down. Because now you're just the masculine voice of me. Wow. And that's when we're talking about unity, and we're talking about seeing ourselves and other people, and not seeing lack and not seeing separation. Exactly. Now we can all. I don't care about your, $10 an hour job, and I'm making $50 an hour. You're still a man to me. Exactly. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So exactly. That's where we have to stop looking at society and what this and. Be authentic. When you get to being authentic, you start tapping into your spirit. You start tapping into that inner voice, that energy that tells you exactly what's supposed to happen. Whereas you bypass all of this that tells you what our intended purpose is for what's to happen. Exactly. Intellectualizing instead of doing, the deep feeling and connecting with one's spirit. We are at the closing hour. I want to thank everyone for coming out. And what I wanted to just basically wrap up is that tonight we talked about the dating game. And we talked about essentially how we come with our representative. And our representative is really not presenting ourselves the way we are authentically. We're really not speaking our truth. So what we find is that when we date and we relate to other people, that we end up seeing a situation where we end up in a situation where someone talked about we have trust issues. And we're not able to trust the other person because essentially you're not able to trust yourself. Let's look at this deeply. If I have trust issues, I trust that I cannot be vulnerable. I trust that, you will not accept me for who I am. Then this relationship happens and I end up with these trust issues. Essentially, this is a vortex that I've created for myself. We talked about the idea of masculine and feminine energy. I talked about the mirror. And we talked about, the sister here talked about how we are looking at our opposite. Okay, when we're looking, I'm a man, I'm looking at a woman, I'm looking at my feminine. How is my feminine treating me? Okay, how is my masculine treating me? Okay, how am I interacting with myself? All right, with the duality. So some things that I want to leave you with before we leave. The focus to shift this is to really sit down and be honest with ourselves about what we deeply desire. And align that with our expectations. And you can do this by visualization. Visualize. I talked about before we started the show. We are in a time period at this particular time where this is the time to visualize and act as if. And be very honest with ourselves about what we deeply desire in our relationships. Being truthful. Being truthful to ourselves first and foremost. And again, letting our beloved, how does this feel? When I say this to myself, how does this feel? Does it feel good? Does it hurt? Why does it hurt? Why does it feel good? And going from there. So again, I want to thank everyone for coming out to another edition of Sensual Synergy. I want you guys to give yourselves a round of applause for being here tonight. We had some hard-hitting things coming tonight. I want to thank everyone for contributing to this wonderful conversation. This is a platform for us to talk openly and honestly about relationships and sexuality. I will see you next month, the second Saturday of March, here at the Women's Earth. Women's Earth is 2201 Arbor Street here in the historic 3rd Ward, Texas. And I want to thank Janae. She is the operator and owner of Women's Earth. I want to thank everyone for coming out and all my supporters. And we will see you guys next month. Thank you. All right.